Sometimes, for healing to occur, the wound must be cleansed with fire to prevent infection. So if the world is suffering infection, the only solution is to make the world burn. Hi everyone, and welcome back to an explosive episode of
The Dungeon Crashers.
I'm Guy.
And I'm Zapeel. Before we get started, be sure to like and subscribe, and turn on that bell if you want to be notified when we post our hot D&D content. At this point, we are halfway done with the Chromatic Dragonborn party, so we will be making another poll for our next party. If you want to vote, go to the Community tab and select the group you want us to build. So far for the Dragonborn party, we have the Blue Dragon, Drake Warden, riding his companion into battle, and the Black Sorlock. This week we will be building the Red Dragon Druid, who lives to cause havoc and destruction. We use the Chromatic Red Dragonborn from Fitzbin's Treasury of Dragons. They are humanoid, medium size, and a walking speed of 30 feet. They get chromatic ancestry. You get to pick what color you are, and we went with the red, of course. They get a breath weapon, a 30-foot by 5-foot wide line of fire that deals 1d10 of fire damage, and the damage increases as we gain levels. The enemies in the breath weapon get to make a dex save, and the DC is 8 plus Constitution modifier plus your proficiency bonus. The ones that save take half damage, and you can use your breath weapon a number of times a day equal to your proficiency bonus, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. They get dragon resistance. They have resistance to damage type of their chromatic ancestry, which is fire. Chromatic Warding is another ability they get at 5th level. They can, starting at 5th level, as an action, you can channel your draconic energy to protect yourself. For 1 minute, you become immune to damage type associated with your chromatic ancestry, again, fire. Once you use this trait, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. And finally, Dragonborn get common and one other language of your choice. Our heroine didn't start out wanting to destroy everything. She was born to a good family. Her mother was a red dragonborn, and her father was a copper dragonborn. They lived happily in the countryside, and she learned to live one with nature. As she was growing up, her mother taught her the ways of magic, how different spells affected nature around them, and when to heal instead of harming. At the same time, her father would take her out to the forest, teaching her all different flora and fauna, the different types of poisonous plants, and when it is best to fight or to defend. We wanted to make a custom background for this character. We will be using the Outlander background, but we will change it just a little bit and call it the Survivalist background. The Outlander background gives 2 skills, athletics and survival. This is where the change happens. Our heroine is smaller than your average dragonborn. The time she spent with her father in the forest, she used it to hone her senses to find danger, so change athletics to perception. The feature of this background is Wanderer. You have an excellent memory of maps and geography, and you can always recall general layout of terrain, settlements, and other features around you. In addition, you can find food and fresh water for yourself and up to 5 other people each day, provided that the land offers berries, games, water, and so forth. For ability scores, the Chromatic Dragonborn from Fitzbin's Treasury of Dragons gets 3+1 ability boosts you can put anywhere but no more than 2 on one ability. First, we put an 8 on Strength. As I said before, she is smaller than your average Dragonborn. We put a 14 on Dex. She will be using hide armor and a shield to maximize armor class. We put a 15 on Constitution, making it 16 with the first racial bonus. This will help with the hit points and the breath weapon DC. A 10 on Intelligence. She would rather be outside than studying. A 14 on Wisdom, making it 16 with the last 2 from the racial bonus. This will be her casting stat, so we wanted to get it as high as possible. And we put a 10 on Charisma. She never had much interaction with others, just her parents.
Now it all started in her teen years, when her dreams changed. In her dreams, a dark-haired human sorceress would approach her. She never felt frightened or threatened of them. It was just the opposite. It was like talking with someone she had known for years. The sorcerer would often teach her more about the darker spells and the outside world that was full of adventures that her mother would never teach her. She grew fond of the sorceress and enjoys the time they spent in her dreams. After a few years passed, in one dream the sorceress told her that she was real and using a special connection they had to contact her in her dreams. Our heroine was so happy this was a real person, not just a dream. They could meet and go on adventures together. But the happiness quickly turned to despair and worry. The sorceress was in trouble and needed her help. This would be the last time she could contact her, but if she wanted help, she was to go and meet one of the sorceress's companions. Without thinking twice, our heroine agreed to do whatever it takes to bring her friend home. The next morning, she told her parents about her friend and the last few years they had spent together. Her parents were shocked and thought that their daughter was cursed. The argument raged as she tried to defend her friend, but her parents forbade her to go and help. After a few sleepless days later, our heroine had enough, and the pull to help her friend was too strong. She packed her traveling gear and slipped out in the night while her parents slept. At first level, our heroine takes Druid. She gets 2 skills from the Druid list, and she takes Arcana and Nature. This will help since she has average intelligence. She is proficient with light armor, medium armor, and shield. She's also proficient with intelligence and wisdom saves. She knows Druidic, the secret language of druids. You can speak the language and use it to leave hidden messages. You and others who know this language automatically spot such a message. Others spot the message presence with a successful DC 15 wisdom perception check, but can't decipher it without magic. Druids are prepared casters and can prepare a number of spells equal to their wisdom modifier plus druid level. So 4 to start. She gets 2 cantrips known and 2 first level spell slots. For the cantrip, she takes Produce Flame and Shillelagh. She'll be using a club, so this is the perfect spell for her. It's a bonus action to cast, and it lasts for 1 minute. For the duration, you can use your spellcasting ability instead of strength for the attack and damage rolls of the melee attack using that weapon. And the weapon's damage die becomes a d8. The weapon also becomes magical if it isn't already. The spell ends if you cast it again or if you let go of the weapon. Now for her prepared spells, she takes Absorb Elements, Detect Magic, Healing Word, and Ice Knife. The place the sorceress told her to meet her companion was in a small village only a few days' travel from her home. She was to meet him in the tavern, and he would guide her to gather the others. He is a blue dragonborn wearing studded leather armor and wielding a rapier. When she entered the tavern, he was nowhere to be found, so she sat at the bar and ordered a drink. After a few hours, she began to worry that she might have missed him and would need to get a room for the night. A voice from behind her startled her. "I've been waiting for hours, and yet you didn't notice I was here." She turned on her stool, her eyes wide, that even with her senses that she trained, she didn't even notice him approach. "You'll need to get stronger before you can even think about helping the sorceress. Follow me," he whispered before turning and walking to the door. She gathered her wits, paid her bill, and ran after him before losing sight of him. As they start their adventure, she takes 2nd level Druid. She gets her Wild Shape ability, but instead of the normal use of changing into an animal, she'll be using her Wild Shape with her Druidic circle, Wildfire. She'll be using those wild shapes to summon Wildfire Spirit. Once summoned, it lasts for 1 hour until it is reduced to 0 hit points, or you use the summon Wildfire Spirit again, or you die. There is a stat block for the Wildfire Spirit in the Wildfire subclass, so be sure to look that up to get the information. There are 2 abilities that I do want to cover. First is when you summon the Wildfire Spirit in an unoccupied space you can see within 30 feet of you, each creature within 10 feet of it other than you must make a dex save against your DC, and on a failed save, the creature takes 2d6 fire damage. The second ability is Fiery Teleportation. As an action, the spirit and each willing creature of your choice within 5 feet of it teleports up to 15 feet to unoccupied spaces you can see. Then each creature within 5 feet of the space that the spirit left must succeed on a dexterity saving throw against your spell save DC, or take 1d6 plus your proficiency bonus in fire damage. Now this is a great way for you and your companions to get out of some sticky situations, especially since teleportation at 2nd level is pretty rare. From Circle of Wildfire, she gets spells at certain levels. At this level, she gets Burning Hands and Cure Wounds. They are prepared for free and don't count against the number of spells she can prepare a day. For her prepared spell, she takes Charm Person, takes an action to cast, and lasts for 1 hour. If the target fails a wisdom save, it regards you as a friend for the duration. This is a great spell for information gathering.
Yeah. At 3rd level of Druid, her connection to fire becomes stronger. She gets 2 more spells from the Wildfire Circle, Flaming Sphere, and Scorching Ray. They are prepared for free and don't count against the number of spells she can prepare a day. This just adds more ways for her to play with fire. She gets another prepared spell that can be of 2nd level, another 1st level spell slot, and 2 2nd level spell slots. For the prepared spell, she takes Lesser Restoration. At 4th level of Druid, she gets an ability booster feat, and she takes Gift of the Metallic Dragon feat from Fitzbin's Treasury of Dragons. It has 2 abilities. First is Draconic Healing. It gives her the Cure Wounds spell. She already has it from her Wildfire Circle, but now she can cast it once for free between long rests. The second ability is Protective Wings. When you or another creature you can see within 5 feet of you is hit with an attack roll, you can use your reaction to manifest spectral wings from your back for a moment. You grant a bonus to the target's AC equal to your proficiency bonus against the attack roll, potentially causing it to miss. You can use this reaction a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. For spells, she gets another spell she can prepare a day, another cantrip known, and another 2nd level spell slot. For the cantrip, she takes Guidance, and for the prepared spell, she takes Wither and Bloom. Yes, it does necrotic damage instead of fire, but it is a good damaging spell, and it can also heal an ally in the area. At 5th level of Druid, she gets 2 more spells from her Wildfire circle. Plant Growth and Revivify prepared for free, and they don't count against the number of spells she can't prepare a day. For spells, she gets another spell that she can prepare a day that can be of 3rd level, and she gets 2 3rd level spell slots. For the prepared spell, she takes Dispel Magic. From her Dragonborn race, she gets Chromatic Warding. As an action, you can channel your Draconic energy to protect yourself. For 1 minute, you can become immune to the damage type associated with your Chromatic ancestry. Once you use this trait, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. Her cantrip Produce Flame and her Breath weapon improve here, dealing an additional dice of damage. After a few years of travel, she notices that her fire spells are having a more destructive effect, and her companions regain more hit points from her healing spells while her Wildfire Spirit is summoned. At 6th level of Druid, she gets the ability Enhanced Bond from her Wildfire Circle. Whenever you cast a spell that deals fire damage or restores hit points while your Wildfire Spirit is summoned, roll a d8 and you gain a bonus equal to the number rolled to 1 damage or healing roll of that spell. In addition, when you cast a spell with range other than self, the spell can originate from you or your Wildfire Spirit. For spells, she gets another spell that she can't prepare a day and another 3rd level spell slot. She takes Erupting Earth for a great ranged area of attack spell, plus it turns the ground in the affected area to difficult terrain for some crowd control. At 7th level of Druid, she gets 2 more spells from her Wildfire Circle, Aura of Life and Fire Shield. For spells, she gets another spell she can't prepare a day of 4th level and 1 4th level spell slot. She takes Divination to help track down the location of the sorceress. At 8th level of Druid, she gets an ability booster feat, and she will boost her Wisdom to 18. This will help with her spell save DC and her melee attack and damage with Shillelagh. She gets another spell she can't prepare a day and another 4th level spell slot. She takes Wall of Fire for another fire spell and more crowd control. At 9th level of Druid, she gets her last 2 spells from her Wildfire Circle, Flame Strike and Mass Cure Wounds. They are prepared for free, and they don't count against the number of spells she can't prepare a day. For spells, she gets another spell she can't prepare of 5th level, another 4th level spell slot, and 1 5th level spell slot, so she takes Cone of Cold.
It had been many years since she ran away from her home. One day she noticed familiar terrain. She was close to her childhood home. She takes this time to go home and reconcile with her parents, but in what should have been a happy return, she finds a building in ruin. The front wall had been smashed in, and the smell of death filled the air around the house. She enters the building slowly, afraid of what she would find. There on the floor lay her dead parents. They must have been killed shortly after she ran away. Rage fills her as the once happy home erupts in a flame strike. After a while, the blue dragonborn approaches her and says, "It's time. You are ready to help the sorceress." In her dreams that night, for the first time since she ran away from home, the sorceress appears. All the sorceress does is lean close and whispers in her ear, "Embrace the fire and death. Once you do, you and I will be the same." Then she disappears. The words of the sorceress at first disturbed her. The fire was supposed to cleanse the world so that it can heal, not for vengeance and destruction. But looking upon the bodies of her parents, she realized that the sorceress was right. The world needed to be cleansed with fire before it could heal. At 10th level Druid, she gets from her Wildfire Circle Cauterizing Flames. When a small or larger creature dies within 30 feet of you, or your Wildfire Spirit, a harmless spectral flame springs forth in the dead creature's space, and flickers there for 1 minute. When a creature you can see enters that space, you can use a reaction to extinguish the spectral flame there, and either heal the creature or deal fire damage to it. The healing or damage equals 2d10 plus your Wisdom modifier. You can use this reaction a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. For spells, she gets another cantrip known, another spell she can prepare, and another 5th level spell slot. For the cantrip, she takes Thorn Whip, and for the prepared spell, she takes Greater Restoration. At 11th level Druid, she gets another spell she can prepare of 6th level, and a 6th level spell slot. For her prepared spell, she takes Heal. Her Produce Flame cantrip and Breath weapon improve, dealing an additional dice of damage. In time, she learns the name of the sorceress, and it is Tiamat. At first she feels deceived. This is no sorceress, but an evil dragon lord that her parents warned her about. She went to leave, but the voice of Tiamat spoke to her and said, "I did not deceive you. The sorceress is one of my avatars. It is also part of who I am. I am not what your parents told you." They had been deceived by the lies of humans and other mammals, mammals like the ones that murdered them. Once Scalekind ruled the world, and there was order and harmony, but then the mammals came and brought chaos and strife. That strife even infected Dragonkind, and her once noble friend Bahamut led those dragons who sided with the mammals into a war. The dragon warden weakened Scalekind so much that the mammals prospered and the dragons slumbered. She heard truth in the Dragon Queen's words, but still had doubts. "But my parents said the dragon lords enslaved our people." Tiamat responded, "This is more of the mammals' lies. Your people were not created as slaves, but as caretakers, to tend to the world in ways that dragonkind did not have the skills or inclination to do. Your people were meant to rule before the mammals came, and when the fire has consumed the mammals, your people will heal the world that the mammals have ruined." At 12th level, she gets an ability score booster feat, and she takes the Elemental Adept feat. When you gain this feat, choose one of the following damage types: acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder. Of course, she'll take fire. Spells you cast ignore resistance to damage of the chosen type. In addition, when you roll damage for a spell that you cast that deals damage of that type, you can treat any 1 on a damage dice as a 2. She gets another spell she can prepare of 6th level. She takes Investiture of Flame because it deals fire damage to any creature in 5 feet, and as an action she can shoot a 15-foot by 5-foot wide line, and any creature in that area must make a dex save or take 48 fire damage, or half on a successful save. This spell just suits her fiery personality.
Yeah.
At 13th level, all she gets is another spell she can prepare of 7th level, and 1 7th level spell slot. She takes Firestorm. Of course she would take it. It's one of the best range area of effect crowd-controlling fire spells there is.
Yeah.
At 14th level Druid, her bond with her Wildfire spirit grows even stronger, strong enough to save her from death's clutches. From her Wildfire circle, she gets Blazing Revival. The bond with her Wildfire spirit can save her from death. If the spirit is within 120 feet of her when she's reduced to 0 hit points and thereby falls unconscious, she can cause the spirit to drop to 0 hit points. She then regains half her hit points and immediately rises to her feet. Once she uses this feature, she can't use it again until she finishes a long rest. For spells, she gets another spell she can prepare of 7th level, and she takes Plane Shift if she needs to go to another plane or to send an enemy to another plane.
Yeah. At 15th level of Druid, she gets another spell she can prepare of 8th level and 1 8th level spell slot. She takes Incendiary Cloud to heavily obscure her enemy's vision, and when the cloud appears, it does 10d8 fire damage on a failed dex save or half on a successful save. At 16th level of Druid, she gets an ability booster feat, and she will use it to cap her wisdom at 20. This will help with her spell save DCs to be the best that they can be. For spells, she gets another spell she can't prepare a day of 8th level, and she takes Feeble Mind to shut down enemy spellcasters. At 17th level of Druid, she gets another spell she can't prepare a day that can be of 9th level now and 1 9th level spell slot. She takes True Resurrection. She might be the only person in the party that can get it, so why not? Her Produce Flame cantrip and Breath weapon improve one last time, dealing an additional dice of damage. At 18th level of Druid, she gets Timeless Body. For every 10 years that have passed, she will only gain 1 year. She also gets Beast spells. You can cast many of your Druid spells in any shape you assume using Wild Shape. You can perform the somatic and verbal components of the Druid spell while in Beast shape, but you aren't able to provide material components. This doesn't do much for her, since she uses her wild shapes to summon her Wildfire spirit. So for spells, she gets another spell she can prepare of 9th level and another 5th level spell slot. She takes Storm of Vengeance. It is a fun spell if you can concentrate on it for the full duration. It has a long spell description, so it is best to look this one up. At 19th level of Druid, she gets her last ability booster feat, and she will use it to boost her Constitution to 18. This will help with her hit points and her Dragon Breath DC. She gets another spell she can prepare of 9th level and another 6th level spell slot. She takes Blight. While she does have a lot of fire spells, it is best to keep a few other damaging types around. And for her last level of Druid, she gets Archdruid. Now she can use her wild shapes an unlimited number of times. Additionally, she can ignore the verbal and somatic components of her Druid spells, as well as any material components that lack a cost and aren't consumed by the spell. You gain this benefit in both your normal shape and your beast shape from wild shape. She gets one last spell she can prepare of 9th level and another 7th level spell slot. She takes Regenerate, just in case she accidentally blows off someone's arm. You know, it happens.
Our hero and her companions have routed the mammals and the traitor dragons who aid them. They have battled the celestial minions of the filthy gods of the mammals, and Tiamat, in the guise of her sorceress friend, comes to thank her for her efforts and promise her again that one day the mammals will be destroyed and the Dragonborn will rule the world as stewards to the Dragon Lords. You have long life, my friend, and great power. You will live to see that great day, but until then there will be many more battles for you to fight. Our hero delights in her friend's praise and is taken by visions of the great new world they will one day create. Now, this character in the subclass in general is very balanced, being strong offensively and defensively, and as a healer,
Yep.
and having a lot of roleplay and utility options. Although she rarely uses Wild Shape in battle, preferring to summon her Fire Spirit, outside of combat, Wild Shape has a wide range of uses: travel, scouting, evading traps and obstacles, etc. And even though she isn't a Moon Druid, she can assume some powerful forms that she can use to protect herself in battle. She would obviously prefer reptilian forms such as snakes, lizards, and dinosaurs, but there are a lot of good choices of those too. This will be even more powerful at high levels when she can cast spells in beast form, and when she has unlimited Wild Shape, she comes practically unkillable. We hope you enjoyed this character and will consider playing a Wildfire Druid. In the comments of our last video, Paintball J Killa said he thought it was an underrated subclass, and we agree.
Yeah.
If you've played one of your games, please tell us about it in the comments below, along with any suggestions or build ideas. And join us next week when we present the next member of our band, a war-hardened mercenary who lusts after wealth and power. Until then,
Cheers.